Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I thought tonight I would just talk to you about my go-to cameras that I use. They're my default cameras that when I'm looking for something to use to photograph an event, a wedding, I'm not going to do weddings anymore, or something that's important, maybe something that people are paying me to do, or in the past would have paid me to do. What camera out of all the many cameras I have do I go to do that? And I'm going to just talk you through that system that I have here, and how I go about it and which cameras I've got. I'm going to show you a couple of cameras and what system it is. When I first started off many years ago, it was with Pentax, the Pentax Spotmatic, and then later on the Pentax Super A, the Pentax SFXN, the Pentax MZS, and I used them all to photograph weddings. And then with digital I graduated to the Pentax IST-TD, the first digital SLR that came out, used that on weddings, the Pentax KX and the Pentax KR. Now I still have all those cameras, and they're great cameras, but they're not my go-to cameras. In about 2006 I had reason to get a new camera because my Pentax was not working too well, and I lashed out and bought a Canon 400D. I was on my way to photograph a wedding in Western Australia for a son of some friends of ours, and so I bought a Canon 400D, which had just come out then at the time, and I'd been a Pentax person all the way until then, and I took that with me without hardly using it to photograph this wedding in Perth, and it worked pretty well. I had a couple of kit lenses. One of them was the this telephoto lens here, which is a 75 to 300 zoom lens, and also the 18 to 50, I think. There you go. You might be surprised I just did a quick change of clothing. The reason for that is that I've just been preparing this over a few days, this actual video, and I'm talking all about the Canon 700D, which is this camera here. And I realised I was almost ready to start putting the video up onto YouTube, and I realised I hadn't even actually shown you, I don't think I have anyway, the Canon 700D, which is what this video is mainly all about. So I'm going to show you that now, and then we'll cut back into where I was at before. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you a few settings on the back of the camera as well. So here we go. This is the Canon 700D, which is my favourite go-to camera. I used it the other day for a photo shoot I did at a 40th birthday celebration for an organisation, and that was good fun. Learning to use it all over again, like as if I was doing a wedding reception or something like that. But I love this camera. It's got a little flip-out screen on the back there, which I think is essential for all these cameras these days. And when you have this little lens, you can actually sort of look down on it like that. You can look down from the top as if you're using a twin lens reflex, and you can hold it up over your head like so. I'll show you. So if you're trying to take shots, say at a wedding, and there's people you wanting to get shots, you hold it up like that above your head. I can't get my head down low enough, but so you can actually get a good view of what's happening down below. And that's a great resource. And of course, if you want to get down level with little kids, you get down on the ground with them, or if you want to take some shots of a bird or wildlife at the same level as them, or your pets, you get down low without having to ruin your back like I do with all my arthritis. So anyway, there you go. That's the Canon 700D. It's a beautiful little camera. You turn it on just up here. There. One of the traps with this one is sometimes you turn it too far and you find yourself, see that little section there, that's the video mode. So if you go too far with it, you're now in video mode. And then that will give you a live view to do your video. And when you want to take your video, you just press this button here and it starts recording video. So the way to get out of that, of course, is to go back to, where are we? Here. We go back to the on position, and then we're back into our normal position. You've got that on the back. You can see all your settings on the back there. If you want to shoot live view in stills, you just press that button there, and there you are. You have it, you see. In fact, we could probably take a photo there of that, maybe. Let's have a look. We can take a selfie, although I can't see what I'm doing here because I haven't got the screen around. I should turn the screen around, and now I can see what I'm doing. And now the button's at the front here to take the photo, and I'll just push the button here now like that. Whoa, what's going on there? I've got it on a self-timer. I set the wrong setting there. Let's just turn that off for a minute. Okay. I'd been playing around with the self-timer beforehand and I hadn't turned it off. So let's just go back here to live view, I think. What am I doing? What are you doing, Jeff? Now I've got live view again. So now I'm coming back here and holding this up, and I can see myself there now in the picture, and it's focusing on my face. It's got little squares picking out my face, so I should be in clear focus now. And it is, I think. So I'm going to look straight at the camera. And there you are, you've got a shot. So that's one of the great things about these modern cameras with little flip-out screens. One of the best features you can get, in my opinion. I'm going to show you at the end of this video some of the settings on the back of all the different settings, what they are and what they mean. Well, not all of them, but some of them, in particular the exposure compensation setting. I'm going to show you that one and some of the metering views settings that you can do on here, and the white balance. You'll see a few stills that I took some years ago when I was doing some stuff for one of my photography courses. So there you go. It's a beautiful little camera. This has got the 18-55, which I was about to, when I interrupted this video, which I was about to go and get off the shelf. So this is a nice little 18-55. It's got a inbuilt stabilizer on there. In the lens, it's not into the camera. My Pentax cameras have inbuilt stabilization in them, whereas with the Canons, you've got to have a lens that's got a stabilizer on it. It's got a little pop-up flash. There's a little button on the side here. Yeah, on the side, you pop that up and you've got your little flash. You can put external flashes on using the hot shoe up the top here, of course, which I have done a lot in the past. The other day when I was doing this photo shoot, I was going to use fuel flash bouncing off the ceiling using my, I think I showed it in the rest of this video, but using this flash here, which is the 430EX, and there's variations of that. I was going to take some shots bouncing off the ceiling with that, and I took a couple of test shots, and then I realized that there was a fair bit of light in the room, and by using the flash, I was going to be distracting people, and it's just going to be driving people nuts with the flash going off all the time. And I found out there was enough light there. I can set a higher ISO setting there and set the camera settings so I could take photos without using the flash. So I didn't use the flash at all, even though the photos might have been better if I had have used the flash. But I chose the inconvenience for the subjects over my wishes to be a perfectionist. So there you go. So that's just a little quick look at the camera. It's got all the settings up here. If you can look on the top there, all these different settings here. You can set different things. You've got manual and you've got programmed exposure, and you've got the green button, the green one there with the A there. I very rarely use that. That works, but in in all situations it doesn't work perfectly. So I prefer to use the P setting and then expose and vary the exposure compensation. If it looks too light or too dark, well then I simply go here. I'll just turn this around and I'll show you just how you do this. So we've got we'll go into live view. So you can see there, I think you can see there. Hang on, we don't want that. That was the picture we took of me before. So we go into live view. So you can see down the bottom here, See the plus and the minus there with a little pointer in the middle? Well, when you use exposure compensation, what you do, you simply press this button up, this one here. See that one there next to my finger? That's your exposure compensation button. You just press that, and then by using you should be able to see this, I think. And by using this little wheel on the front here with my thumb, you can see that going back and forth, I hope. Let's have a look. You see the little pointer going back and forth down the bottom there? Whoops, hang on, what am I doing now? And so you just press that there, and you're either under or exposing. So I'm bringing it back to the middle point there now. So that's, what is it on? It's still on a minus a half a stop. So we'll just go back here again. Where was I? That one there. And we'll try and adjust it again. So that's in the middle. Now it should be in the middle there. So that's how you do exposure compensation. One of the best things you can learn when you're using these digital SLR cameras. So I'm going to stop there and then revisit the rest of the video and see if I can do some editing and push it out probably before the end of this weekend. So there, that's why I changed, because I recorded at the start of it a while ago. So thanks for watching that part. I'll stop here and we'll continue on. The original one here was an 18 to 55 EFS zoom lens, f3.5 to f5.6, and that's it there. Unfortunately, that got used so often that it developed a bit of a fault. Probably these contacts here are a bit lazy and need some cleaning every now and then, but you can shoot a few shots with it and then it brings up an error and it's not reliable at all, so I don't use it anymore. So I bought a replacement one for that, which is a similar lens but a better one, better quality one, and that's also a 18 to 55 with an image stabilizer built onto it as well. I'll come back to that in a minute anyway. So I graduated eventually from the 400D to a 600D, which I swapped with a friend of mine now in exchange for his Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II, which he was having trouble using. And I said, why don't you try my Canon 600D and I'll try yours. And anyway, he liked it so much, and he has a medical condition where it's very hard for him to use a camera properly, and we eventually did a permanent swap. So I have his Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II, the Micro Four Thirds system, which I love, and he has my Canon 600D. But for a while I had the 600D and the 700D. I upgraded to the 700D, and I've used both of them to shoot lots of weddings back when I was doing them, and they're really good cameras. And pretty much the Canon system is the one I go to if I, as I said before, need to do something in a hurry or do it properly and know I can rely on, know I have an instant knowledge in my head of how these cameras work and how I can quickly change settings quickly. I use the Canon 700D, and also sometimes I go back to my Canon 400D, which is a lovely camera. That's only a 10 megapixel, but and this has got a battery grip on the bottom, and on there at the moment I've got a Tamron 28 to 200 zoom lens, a Tamron autofocus zoom lens. It's an old school one, but it's adapted for the Canon, and I can use that equally as well on my Canon 700D, and it works quite well on the 700D and on this one as well. How I got that lens, plus this one here, which is this is a Canon lens, but it's a 20 to 35 millimeter. Just see if you can see that there. Oh, you can see that. It's a 20 to 35 millimeter. I'm not sure. I'm using my Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II to film this video, so I'm not sure about the autofocus. But as far as it's okay following my face around, I'm not sure about this. But anyway, it's a Canon zoom lens EF 20 to 35 f3.5 to f4.5, and that's a nice lens. That works well. I use that quite often. Have it set up on my 700D, and I find that these cameras, and also I got those cameras because a friend of mine, I've got lots of friends who are into photography, had this, and I've done a review of this one before. It's a film camera, a Canon EOS 500N, and that came with the this lens here I just showed you, and also the Tamron 28-200 lens, and they both fit on here. And the good thing is that this is a beautiful film camera. You'll see a review I've done on this channel of this and the shots I took with it, and it's a really good camera. But the beauty of this system I've got the one film camera, and I've got the two digital SLRs, that all of these lenses go on all three cameras, and they all particularly the 400D and the 700D are very easy to use and very easy to follow the programs and the menu settings and all that sort of stuff. And one of the good things is you've got your exposure compensation is very easy to get to, and automatic ISO and all that sort of stuff as well. So they're really good cameras. The other good thing about this one, of course, and I'll film a little bit of video on this to show you what the video's like. I'll put this up there where the Olympus is in a minute, and I'll film some video of me talking on this one in a minute. And but the beauty is that it's got a flip out screen, of course, the little flip out screen which can tilt everywhere. And I think you should never buy a camera these days unless it's got a flip out screen, and that's beautiful. And it does video, not 4K, but it does high definition 1080. It does the video, which for my intents and purposes is good enough. And so there you go. It's a beautiful camera, and I use it. That's my go-to camera. And this on Tuesday I'm going to an event which is a 40th birthday of a group, a birthday celebration, and they've asked me to take a few photos, and I'll be using that camera, and I'll be using my flash, the flash that goes with it. And this works on both of these cameras. On the 400D and the 600D is just the basic Canon speed light. It's a 430EX, and you can get variations of this one. And you've got full tilt and swivel like that. Bounce off the ceiling, bounce sideways, and it's a great flash. And the good thing about these is you on the menu on both the cameras, you can do flash compensation on it. You can wind the flash back and forth. When I first started using this on my 400D, I was getting some of the flash shots were blown out, and I didn't realise that you could actually adjust it by using your flash compensation menu on both cameras. And this works a treat. It's a beautiful little flash, and I'll be using that on Tuesday when I go and do these shots. So the other lens that's a nice lens here, which I bought a little while ago, which I've got it on the film camera, it works just as well on the film camera, is this Canon 40mm pancake lens, f2.8. That's on there, and that's a nice little lens as well. Very compact little lens. Show it to you there. It's quite compact and thin and narrow, and that's a nice lens. And that is interchangeable with the film and the digital. And the other lens that I have is where is it? This one here. I don't use this all that often, but I bought it because I thought, well, it's a good thing to have. It's a Canon 50mm f1.8 autofocus lens, and it's a fixed f1.8 lens, and these are all got the stim setting where you can use them to autofocus with your video and all that sort of stuff. And that's a nice lens too. I don't use it all that much, but that's a good portrait lens, and if you want to get a nice bokeh in the background. So that's my setup. What I'm going to do, I'll do a little bit of video now. I'm going to stop this in a second. I'll do a bit of video now, and I'll show you some video taken with the Canon 700D, and you can pick these up for a pretty good price now, the 700D. Have a look around. And the 600D, they're great cameras. Anyone starting out, excuse me, I would recommend, if you're just starting into photography, to get one of these. It's quite lightweight but well built, and they're just lovely cameras. I'm not going to go into all the specifics. You can look them up if you want to. I could, but I'll try and show you some more stuff as we progress through this video, which might help you with that. I have done some programs over the years, some training programs which I've made PowerPoint presentations where I've taught photography to people, And I've got a few slides in one of my PowerPoint presentations on my Introduction to Photography course where I show you the backs of this camera with the different settings, so I might click over to that afterwards. So this could get a bit lengthy by the time I'm finished. So there you go. I'm just going to stop here at the moment. I'm going to swap over to the Canon and film me talking a bit more about the Canon, and I'll be switching off the Olympus, and we'll see how we go with the Canon. You'll find that it may make a little bit of noise. The autofocus can be a bit noisy, so if you are shooting with that camera, it's a good idea to have a lapel mic. If you're filming yourself or filming something else, because particularly if you have this other lens here, this one here, I've done some video with that one there. This is the Canon old school EF 20-35 zoom lens. The autofocus works when you're using video, but it's very noisy. It picks it up through the on-camera mic, and it's quite noisy and quite noticeable. So you really need to be careful when you're using these things. They're not ideally set up for video, but they can do it. So we'll see what it looks like in a minute. So I'm just going to turn this off now, and then we'll switch over to the Canon. Okay, so welcome back. Now we've switched over to the Canon 700D, and the picture looks a bit better on this screen than it did on the other one. I had to use the exposure compensation on the IMD EM5. I'm just using fluorescent lights in here, so this is just automatically setting the camera how it wants to photograph me, how it wants to video me. So I can move around like this, and the focus is following me quite good. There's a little square that's focused on my face. I'm going to come in there. That's quite good. And it's following me around all over the place quite successfully. So it's not a bad little vlogging camera. Some people use them as vlogging cameras, so I don't know whether it's picking up any noise of the focus. I don't think it is at the moment. I can't hear it moving in and out. So there you go. That's what the video looks like. I'll show you some video afterwards. I'm going to try and make this a bit of quite a bit of an epic video, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how I go. It's a bit time consuming to see what we can get out of it. One of the things that you do need with some of these lenses is a good lens hood. Now these were quite expensive. I bought these when I bought the Canon 400D, I think, and you can fit them both on the 18-55 and on this zoom lens. This is just a standard kit lens, but I've taken lots of nice bird and sports action photos with this. But you won't get any vignetting with that on there, but if you put it on this other lens here, it'll fit on there. But when you go out to the wide angle parts, you're going to get some vignetting. You know, you get dark corners in the corner. So if you're going to use one of these on these short zooms, you won't be able to do too much with the if you're too wide out, in other words, is what I'm trying to say. So now, what else can I tell you? Lovely little manual there. Tells you, is that focusing on that? Let's have a look and see. Don't know whether it's focusing on that or not. Maybe it is. Focuses on me all right. I'm not sure. If I bring it up to next to my face, it probably will. There you go. I don't know, but anyway, it certainly does face autofocus, but maybe not necessarily for objects when you're trying to do one of these videos. Maybe it's not too bad. I'll have a look and see what it looks like afterwards. But very comprehensive books, instruction manuals. These all instruction manuals for most cameras these days you can download off the internet. Paul Butkus, B-U-T-K-U-S, is a good source to go to, and he asked you to send a donation if you to help out with his costs as well. But you can download, even if you haven't got, if you buy one of these second hand and they haven't got the manual, you can usually download them. So yeah, that's that one. Now, what else can I tell you about it? Not too much else other than I love these cameras. I mean, as I said, if I was asked to do an event tomorrow which is fairly important, I would, and particularly with people in them, I'd be using the 700D, and I'd be using my Canon 400D perhaps as a backup, or maybe one of the other cameras I've got. I've got Nikon digital SLRs, which are pretty good, but I was never a Nikon person, but I do like the system, and they've got beautiful lenses. And I've got Minolta film cameras. So I haven't got a Minolta digital camera or a Sony one, and all sorts of other cameras I've got as well. what else have I got? I've got Nikon, Canon, Pentax. My mind's going blank, there are too many. So anyway, there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of an introduction, a bit of a ramble on about my Canon system, which I really like. I've got a remote control for this as well, which works, and not that I ever use them very much. You can do, I've got self-timers on these and everything, which I've used at times as well, doing group photos, and you can set off about 10 shots in a row and do all sorts of antics when you're in the middle of the 10 shots and all that sort of stuff. So it's a good fun camera and very simple to use. Once you know the basics of photography, your holy trinity, the ISO, the shutter speed and the aperture, and how those three things work together, then away you go with a camera like this. It's so easy to set, whereas the modern cameras, like I've just reviewed the Fujifilm X-T200 for a friend who I borrowed it from. Beautiful camera and takes great video and photography, still photography, but it's so complicated. This camera and the other one, and the older digital SLRs, I know they're not the in thing, but if you're starting out in photography, I'd recommend them, and I can quite adequately do anything professional I want to do with this camera. So there you go. Thanks for watching that, and we'll continue on with this video, and I'm hoping to show you some samples, and I'll talk to the samples as I go, and I might try and put a few links to some other things I've done talking about these cameras before, particularly the Canon 500N, which is a nice review. That's the film camera. So thanks for watching. Keep watching, because I'm going to add some more photos and videos to the end of this and make some commentary as I go, and you can judge for yourself whether you think these cameras are okay. And the lenses, these are not real expensive lenses, but they do a good job as far as I'm concerned. So there you go. We'll just sign off now and we'll continue on in a minute. Okay, so these are shots that I've taken with my Canon 700D, some just nice flowers showing the close-up variations of that, and I'm just going to talk my way through some of these still shots. So this next shot coming up is my friend Greg, when I did some photography lessons with Greg in Adelaide's Botanical Gardens, and these are just some shots of him showing the Canon 700D off. I've done lots of, sold a lot of cameras and things on the internet, and this one here and the next one are some cameras that I've sold, a lot of mini DV cameras I've sold, and then I had my favourite Pentax 6x7, which I've sold, plus others. So you see that one here, and then the next shots in a minute are going to be taken with the 40mm pancake lens, which I mentioned in the video I think earlier, and these are some nice shots that I really like, and you should be able to enjoy those. And then what do we got next? Let's have a look and see. I've lost my picture here. We're still going with the close-ups of the ice plants or whatever they are, I think. And now what do we got? There you are, some close-ups of some magnolias from the man across the road, in his garden across the road. Beautiful pink colours, we love the magnolias. And there's some prunus blossom. Now we have some nice shots down Port Elliot Beach in South Australia, the waves coming in. And this next bit is some video taken on a paddle steamer showing the engine. Now we have some shots taken from the side of the boat, the Murray River. Next shots are some more shots taken up in the outback of South Australia at a place called Beltana, near the Flinders Ranges, or in the Flinders Ranges actually. It's an outback town. Not many people live there today. This next shot is an old hotel in Beltana, a beautiful old building, lovely colour that day, and this is at Aruna Dam Sanctuary, which is near Lee Creek. Still shots I've taken using the 700D. I was selling a projector stand there. I sell things on the internet from time to time, sold a lot of cameras and things. So that's just to give you an idea of what I do for my advertising. Actually sold the projector stand. Now this is going along in a trip, some more video on a paddle steamer weekend holiday on the Murray River. 2 days touring and 3 nights accommodation. It was lovely, and they take you off on side trips during the day to explore the cliffs and on the side, and the captain of the boat was giving us a talk and talking about birds along the way and all the fossils that are in the cliffs and all that sort of stuff, and it was very interesting. So this is just using the Canon 700D ordinary programmed video settings. We're about to go under an overhang here, a little bit of a cave or overhang, and you'll see in here the nests, grey mud nests of the fairy martin bird, which is like a swallow, and these are prolific all along the Murray River in different places like this. And these cliffs are full of fossils too, which is exciting for the people who believe in Noah's worldwide flood, indicating that Australia was once under the sea, and probably just as exciting for those that don't believe in the flood. So there you go. So there's lots of marine fossils in those cliffs, particularly up higher, which are quite interesting. Animals that you would never expect to be in the middle of Australia these days anyway. So it's a bit further going along. A bit of growth there. Very relaxing, these sort of trips. There is a little bit coming up here in a minute which shows some nice shots which I took lots of stills of. Well, no, maybe I didn't because I was doing video. Maybe I didn't take stills of this, but this was some rocks that had fallen down here and collapsed, and it makes a nice picture. And so I thought I'd better get some video of that and focused in on that a little bit as we went. And it's my wife taking some stuff on her phone there. And then we're coming up to a shot of Jim and I. We've been on a couple of trips in the Flinders Ranges, so these are some shots in the Flinders Ranges, just a couple from a couple of years ago now probably, or maybe at least 12 months ago. Beautiful colours, the red colours of the outback and the rocks. And this next row of low cliffs here was all full of different ochres, and Aboriginal people use that to paint their bodies with sometimes. That's me in the outback, and these are just some camera settings that are showing you some of the settings that you can see on the back of the Canon 700D. So I just throw through them in there. You'll see up here in a minute the shot I took before showing the exposure compensation thing in live view just down below, and I showed you in the previous segments on the video how you adjust that exposure compensation thing down there. We're coming up to it now, so you can see those lines down the bottom. That's what I was adjusting before, going up and down, overexposing or underexposing to get the value of the exposure correct. A very useful thing. One of the best things to remember when you have your camera set in P and just use your exposure compensation button, have your ISO set on automatic, and that'll cover most situations you're in, really. So these are just a few of the other settings on the back of the camera just to see what's there. And I think we're almost towards the end. So I'll just say at this stage, thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. It's a bit longer. It goes for about nearly 35 minutes. So I hope you can stay with that to the end. And I'll probably put a few other links and things underneath in the words that I've got to say on the actual YouTube channel of what this was all about. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Like if you like, subscribe if you wish, and I'll see you next time.